Guys, Mr. Whiskey back with Whiskey Rebel and the Whiskey Wizard, man. Look, we're back here at the Art of Whiskey, and when you know, I don't know if you guys like art, and I just kind of got into it a little bit. I love artistry and photography and videography and
dope. Cinematography,
all that shit, like art. And you go, man, there's an art to making sense of life, right? And in this case, I actually never thought to consider reading the label on whiskey. Like, I had no clue. Oh, yeah. So you gave me the idea in the last episode when you're reading everything from Four Roses. They do a very good job of giving you a lot of information. The challenge is there are brands that give you nothing as well.
That's 100%. True.
So it's like, oh, this is good fucking juice. You'll drink it regardless. But what if I wanted more information? Like, we know what we're getting when we're drinking a Coca-Cola. You go, man, that's a good... in Kansas City, we say pop. Down here, they say soda. That's
cold
a good
drink.
Cold drink. They got that good pop in KC. My grandpa, when he get out of church, he said, Cherry Logan, go out into the truck, give me a little pop real quick. I'm like, which one you want? He said, give me some of that Sierra Mist. So, what is the trick to reading a label? Which brand do you love getting bottles from because of the label?
So, you really got to look at the label, and you got to know what you're looking for, because it will tell you, that you're certainly required to give you certain information on the label by law, but there's a lot of stuff that they're not necessarily required to tell you, and that omission will sometimes lead to a lack in quality. So for the first thing, like our Whistle Pig here, they are in Vermont. They source from Canada, and they also source from MGP. If you're seeing single barrels and you want to find out, they'll actually tell you on the back. And so this one says Canada, and that's how we know that this one was an Alberta Premium. There's also ways that you produce whiskey. So like a chill filtration. Generally, people that are into whiskey and that are whiskey nerds, they don't want their whiskey chill filtered. So you're generally looking for something that says non-chill filtered, natural color, no color added on the labels. A lot of times, if a distillery doesn't tell you that, it doesn't mean that there is color added. But they certainly didn't tell you that there wasn't, and so you don't know.
Transparency part of it, right? We want transparency as consumers and as whiskey nerds like I am. Mm-hmm. I want as much information as I can get, and so when there's a lack of information, it's just a head scratcher for me, 100%. Right, Richard?
100%.
Dang, man, so what is the no chill thing? This is all something new.
So non-chill filtered. So like Jack Daniels is notorious for charcoal filtered, right?
What does that mean?
So chill filtration, basically what happens is when you add water to whiskey or you add ice to whiskey, if the whiskey is non-chill filtered, it'll go cloudy. That's generally what a whiskey snob wants. The cloudiness doesn't bother us. That's a good sign. It means that our whiskey hasn't been chill filtered. When a lot of distilleries get popular and they try to move out into world markets, not every country sees it as that. So particularly in some of the Asian markets, they will view a whiskey turning cloudy as a lack of quality. So as Glendronach, for example, a Scotch distillery has gotten bigger and bigger and more well regarded across the world, they started to remove their non-chill filtered on their tin because they could move into the Asian markets. And a lot of the people that are hardcore Glendronach fans have reached out to the distillery to say, whoa, you better not be chill filtering our stuff, because what it does is it removes some of the fatty esters and things that are just flavor bombs in the whiskey.
Yeah.
So when you guys, what's your favorite brand to learn to buy, because you're getting tons of information just off the label alone?
Four Roses from American Whiskey, just because of everything that they're capable of and the variety of whiskey and telling you a yeast strain. I mean, most Kentucky distilleries only have one yeast strain, so it's not even,
And it's proprietary a lot, right?
Yeah.
So
I think Heaven Hill sources from Beam on yeast, so it's not even like, that's not even information that's generally provided. So to tell you that we have 10 recipes, this is the recipe that's on here, this is the yeast that we used, and this is what you can expect from each individual recipe, that's more information than you're generally going to get from any labeling.
Now, mind you, that's probably one of their premium bottles as well. Yeah. Now, they do offer that in their other single barrel offerings, and I think even some of their small batch has a little booklet, right?
Yep.
So Four Roses does a good job of being transparent. And I say even this Heaven Hill Grain to Glass, they give a lot of information. They give the mash bill, little brief descriptions, flavor profiles and stuff. So I was impressed with that. Thought that was pretty cool.
It says Grain to Glass,
but I think that Four Roses does a really good job of it.
That's crazy, man. Are there other brands you would recommend people potentially investing in or investigating because they're going to get kind of perspective on what they're drinking?
Sure.
Can't think of nothing off the top of your head, huh?
No, I mean, it's the thing is, if you drink enough whiskey and you're brand loyal, you don't even see the label in your head anymore. You know what you're shopping for, and so
But
I'm trying to.
you're an
think back-
information
yeah.
tank, so and you like information because that helps you make
Yeah.
sense of shit.
Yeah.
So
Generally, you're generally better off by focusing on family-owned stuff that doesn't focus on extravagant packaging, crazy boxes with fireworks and lots of colors that are trying to sell you something more than just this is good whiskey and that's what's in the bottle. I mean, you want the label, but all the label is telling you, hopefully, is that we made it the right way and we didn't cut any corners. And outside of that, what's in the bottle should do the talking for itself.
now,
I agree.
is there anything in terms of recipe, like if all whiskey is 4 or 5 different things, literally what, corn, rye, wheat, barley,
Yep.
it's 4 or 5 things with a few different higher or lower percentages. What even makes it proprietary when you start looking at recipes and mash bills?
So definitely a yeast strain,
Yeah.
definitely where they source their water from,
Yeah.
their mash bill. So even though you said the 5 different things, what quantities they combine those 5 different things. So Buffalo Trace mash bill number 1 is pretty notorious for being a very low rye mash bill. So that's why it gets kind of the sweeter, fruitier, that great thing that everybody's after. And then like Four Roses, I mean, their low rye mash bill is still a fair bit of rye content in it. Yeah. So everybody has their own approach, what they like to see in bourbon, and they're crafting their personality or what they want to portray to the market.
Yeah, I think Beam does a good job, like with their little book and Booker's. I think those are highly informative of grain content, flavor profiles. Also, kind of always gives a cool story. So I think those are another example other than Four Roses. Again, those 2 that I mentioned, Little Book and Booker's, are their top tier products. I think they're pretty high end as far as they're concerned, but they're cool. And I always get fantastic booze when I get a Booker's or a Little Book.
I agree.
I haven't been disappointed with it.
There you have it. Well, I know reading the label can be difficult at times. I mean, even when we start talking about people trying to improve their nutrition, right? Hey, how many grams of protein's in this? All that shit's a bunch of numbers. It really don't, well, it does matter depending on if you're trying to lose weight. But the other part is, how do you read a whiskey label, especially when there's not a lot of like, hey, is there any vitamin A or C in whiskey? No, it's not.
Hey, I tell you what, we do need to dive into Uncle Nearest.
Okay, you want to go, you want to go.
I've had one offering from them, but I've been hearing some fantastic reviews about their whiskey. So I'd like to, I'll grab some bottles and
I'm
we'll
not
see.
going to knock them.
You don't like them? Wasn't a fan.
No.
Okay.
And
Because
I
is it
don't-
weak? Like as far, because it's the proof point, you think? Or you think it's because it's Tennessee whiskey?
I'll go back and revisit it, but we bought Uncle Nearest. We had a lot of Uncle Nearest, if I'm being
Okay.
honest. Stan did, myself. We went to an event where
Just
Uncle
couldn't get
Nearest was
down
the
with it.
sponsor of the event, and they were pouring that Uncle Nearest. I wasn't a super fan. Man.
Okay.
And again, I think it goes back to when a guy like him brings in this magic, and then we're at the
Yeah.
whiskey blendery, which we've got a ton of empty bottles of that.
Yeah, we're spoiled.
And then you turn around and you're looking for cast strength and quality and I think it's a good brand. But if I'm being candid,
Not your jam.
I think the name itself is challenging. I'm a branding and marketing guy, people. You're gonna watch that. If we say Uncle Nearest in the black community, somebody say, hey, that's kind of cool. But if we were going to lean into, go to Jack Daniel's website, read Jack Daniel's story, and when you look at Uncle Nearest and his impact on Jack Daniel's and his brand, you say, why not call him Freedom 1864, 1866? Because the bigger story is he was a free slave, and Jack Daniels never owned slaves. So I'm just shout
really?
out to Jack.
I heard different. I heard that he was a slave and that he was freed after the fact, but that they were very good friends.
No. Keep in mind, I said Jack Daniels never owned slaves.
Okay.
So him and Jack, Uncle
friends.
Nearest and Jack, they were home, but like buried next to each other, friends. So you read and you learn about the Jack Daniels story. You go, I would have leaned into more freedom-based versus.
But he stole. I mean, in all honesty, he kind of not stole it, but he couldn't push that product at that time through Nearest, right? It had to be through Jack. Unfortunately, because of society.
It kind of goes both ways. Though.
I don't know.
I mean,
asking.
there's the challenge. So this is good because this is a healthy conversation. You go, I'm a dog guy, right? and shout out to my guy here because he followed us on the dog stuff way before. There's a lot of people who've been doing dogs for 10, 15 years. What they're not good at is branding and marketing.
Yeah.
So where I pop out of nowhere and I become one of the most relevant voices in the dog world because I'm very good at communication.
Yeah.
And some people...
And research.
And research. So some people love the dog so much, we got to do this. So in this case, did Jack steal it or did... Now, mind the time.
I don't mean steal it.
No.
I should've-
It's a good way to look at it because you go, could you start a business? Was there LLC? Was there a 3/5 act?
Yeah.
You know, where it took 3 people to make 1 vote. You're like, you go down the line historically,
there's a lot of shit.
there's a lot of shit that we had to overcome.
Not a lot of
literally.
cool shit either.
Not a lot of cool shit, but based on what Jack Daniels has written, it was a story where he didn't own slaves.
I think
Jack
he loved
Daniels.
that. I think they had a good camaraderie as
That
brothers.
part.
I think they loved each other as friends and brothers.
And Fawn found this story, ended up buying the farm. That story is amazing. But if I was going to go brand,
yeah, you wouldn't-
Uncle Nearest, to me, it's like relevant to Negroes. But at the end of the day, the story of freedom and being able to create that Jack Daniels trusted a slave who was a reverend who could no longer be a reverend. He had to make a choice. He says, I'm going to hang out with my buddy Jack longer than I'm going to be praised, the Lord or whatnot. And then turn around and then build this whole brand. You go, that's a bigger story to me personally coming from where I'm sitting because I love the story of freedom. And freedom, in my case, is the freedom to think, create, and be inventive.
Freedom's in the mind.
That's part right there. And he made a choice in a state where the church challenged him, meaning Uncle Nearest, to pick and choose. Like, you either go serve God or make this hooch. He's like, I'm going to go hang out and make this hooch.
Yeah. Well, and then they made it in a county where they couldn't even sell it.
That
It's
part
Dry
too.
County, right?
I didn't know any of this. I had to get myself learned up.
Yeah. This is the first time he's been quiet all day.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool story.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's something, and big shout out to.
And it's not bad
I think
whiskey.
they named it Uncle Nearest because she felt like he didn't get his due respect.
And that's fair, but that
I think
goes back to like Phil Knight created Nike.
Yeah.
Like if we create something bigger than ourselves, Nike gonna exist without us.
sure.
But let's talk about the history and then let's build schools that talk about being an artisan and teach other African Americans, if we're gonna go black, like buy black, how to distill and build whiskey. Like in my head, I'm a business junkie, people.
Yeah.
And so I look at the whole ladder and say, oh, they missed a few steps.
Yeah, but I don't ever agree with marketing for a demographic. I think it's for everybody all the time.
So for
If
me,
if I'm going to try to pinpoint, I'm not doing it right. I'm not even thinking right because I'm trying to get everybody encapsulated.
well,
I don't.
and mind you, if you are betting on black, the average African American community has $1.3 trillion worth of buying power, and they have
They got a big buying power.
nowhere to put their money. So I get your point. You're like, we're going to adopt it. Asians buy Asian stuff. Hell, I buy Asian stuff at the Asian store, and everybody else buys. But people don't buy black when you are black because there's nowhere to go. Like, who eating fried? Who going to buy? Like,
Me.
yeah, you probably gonna make some fried chicken. but my point is Uncle Nearest, we'll investigate it. I think now we definitely got to do it.
Well, now I'm gonna go grab the 777 blend. They say it's fire. It's all black with the gold. Let's try it and then we'll just get a basic bottle too.
And we'll do it, guys. It's
for
good,
fun.
but from a branding marketing standpoint, as
not
you watch
giving
our
us the
journey,
mark.
that's what I do. I come in and analyze the business and say, okay, this is where we got to go. This is how we can communicate it. And even with these guys, super good at whiskey, super great at whiskey. All the bottles now make sense. Reading the label is, we've been informed. It's good and bad when there's less or more. When it's overdone, you go, oh, don't buy the hype. You get suckered in, and then you'll lose. But
Yeah, a lot of the type.
yeah, and we've learned a lot today. So definitely keep it whiskey. Jimmy G and I go have some fun, man.
Yeah, for sure. You already know.
Keep it whiskey, man.
Keep it with.